The Mysterious Mare Do Well is one of the more divisive episodes of the show, especially early on. Many see the main six's actions in this episode to be very mean to Rainbow Dash, like they are just trying to put her in her place. Some say the entire episode feels like a giant stunt, and the main six should have just talked with her, and others claim that it portrays Rainbow Dash as being overly cocky and ignores that she is, actually helping ponies. So basically, out of character accusations across the board. It really seems like the episode is just poorly written and stumbles the entire way. But here's the thing. Rainbow Dash is my second favorite of the main six, after only Rarity actually, and this episode is a large part of that. This is actually one of my favorite episodes of Season 2. The mystery of who Mare Do Well is certainly plays a very large factor in that, but I also just really love the way the characters are portrayed here. Honestly, I don't really see many of the critiques of this episode. That is why, on today's episode of Not a Brony, I am going to be defending one of my favorite episodes of Early Friendship is Magic, and explaining exactly why this episode deserves far more love than it actually gets. In this episode of... Darn it, I already said the show's name. Roll tape! We'll start from the top. Rainbow Dash does start out helping ponies. She saves Timmy from this well, this baby from this incredibly impractical road, and these old ponies from this equally impractical viewing balcony. But as it goes on, she keeps getting cockier and cockier. Another common critique of this episode is that the rescue scenes get repetitive. But can that really be the case when you get to see this road? Didn't think so. Really though, the rescue scenes make up the bulk of the episode because they are the bulk of the events. It's actually really good pacing. With each rescue we see how much cockier she is getting, how she is letting her fame get to her head more and more, but it feels natural. But even without the escalation, this whole episode is one of the most important for her growth. Rainbow Dash is made to be an inversion of the cocky hero trope, which is precisely why her element of harmony is loyalty. It is because of this episode that she rejects Lightning Dust and quits the Wonderbolt Academy later on. What she learned here is invaluable for the Rainbow Dash we all know and love later on. And as for why Mare Do Well saves the ponies and Rainbow Dash fails, it isn't plot convenience or Deus Ex Machinas, it is quite literally because she is so cocky. She is more than capable of saving the ponies in this hot air balloon, for example, but she is so full of herself that she is intentionally waiting before even trying to rescue them. Mare Do Well didn't wait. That's why Mare Do Well saved them before Rainbow Dash was able to. The whole point of Twilight, Applejack, and Pinkie Pie's actions was never to bully Rainbow Dash or to make her feel lesser, it was to lead by example. To show Rainbow Dash, another pony who was capable of being a hero, who hid her face and always fled without bathing in the spotlight. We also see it in the second scene with this highly impractical road. Rainbow purposely sits next to this wagon to gloat instead of just, actually helping. And here we see that Mare Do Well is actually capable of helping ponies in ways Rainbow Dash could not, as Applejack uses her strength to save the wagon when Rainbow Dash fails. This is to teach Rainbow and the kids watching another lesson. Everyone has ways they can help. Everyone has different skills. That is the appeal of the main six and really any ensemble cast like them. It's for those different skills. Same with Pinkie using her Pinkie sense to save the ponies from this falling scaffolding, or Twilight using her magic to fix the dam. The point is to teach Rainbow Dash that everyone has merit, that everyone has ways to help, and that those strengths don't make one person better than another. But it also goes into perhaps my favorite part of this episode, the mystery. Mare Do Well's design is perfect. The hat exists solely to hide the fact that sometimes she has a horn and other times she doesn't, helping to seal the illusion that it is only one pony when there are really three. The use of the Pinkie sense here is amazing and only really matters in retrospect because of how rare the Pinkie sense was at the time this episode takes place and when it aired. Before this, the Pinkie sense only really existed in feeling Pinkie keen, and even then Mare Do Well basically retconned the entire way the Pinkie sense works. And this retcon is used for the entire rest of the show. This one episode really did redefine the Pinkie sense for the entire show moving forward. This is also one of the earliest examples of Applejack's strength, becoming a defining part of not only her skill set, but also the power she gets in Equestria Girls later on. And this is one of Twilight's earliest feats of magic, showing just how powerful unicorn magic could be. Back to Mare Do Well's design, I also just realized that her cape is meant to hide the difference in their tails, especially the way Pinkie's tail trembles from her Pinkie sense. None of that is even to mention the way Fluttershy does a flyby twice while dressed in the Mare Do Well suit just to throw everyone's guesses of who it could be off. You realize how this happens right after she uses her magic, which normally would confirm it as having been Twilight all along? Also, possible tease of Twilight becoming an alicorn later? Huh? Yeah, maybe not. But the mystery of who Mare Do Well is has always been one of my favorite draws of this episode, and just the sheer amount of foreshadowing at the eventual reveal makes the rewatch value of this episode amazing. I love it. And remember what I said before about this episode being one of the reasons Rainbow Dash became my second favorite of the main six? Yes, she is deeply flawed in this episode. Rainbow Dash is in the wrong here, and I'm not afraid to admit that. But she learns, she grows. Seeing someone making mistakes and learning from them is the whole appeal. Rainbow Dash is in the wrong here. She is way too cocky and arrogant, but that never negated the fact that she has saved ponies' lives before. The point of Mare Do Well's actions were always to help Rainbow be a better hero, not to belittle her or make her feel worse about herself. And Rainbow Dash even admits at the end of the episode that the lesson was worth it, that she did need to learn it. The main six are very clear about what their point was, and Rainbow Dash is very clear that she appreciated the lesson. Seriously, just watching this episode again makes me love it all over again. The way Rainbow Dash actually wants to write the letter to Celestia herself and not use Spike as a ghostwriter, the callback to Spike being a ghostwriter and Pinkie being all scared about there being a ghost, the way you can see Twilight and Applejack as the ones who get the idea right before the first Mare Do Well scene, the way that Twilight and Applejack are both in the audience for the Mare Do Well celebration scene, with Pinkie being the only one absent, meaning she was the one wearing the suit at the time, as we later see with her being the one Rainbow Dash unmasks first. I seriously love everything about this episode, and I honestly just don't really get the criticisms for it. But anyway, I hope this defense has at least allowed you to see this episode in a new light, and maybe even inspired you to give it another chance. Or maybe you were like me and already loved this episode. Whatever the case may be, I hope you stick around, because if there is one thing I love doing, it is defending overhated or misunderstood episodes of cartoons. So if there's an episode of MLP you want to see defended with all the expertise of a TV lawyer, or even an episode of a different cartoon, leave it in the comments below. I'll try my best to give each and every comment a giant paragraph of gibberish that you probably won't read in response, and I hope to see each and every one of you next time in the next episode of Not a Brony.